Hello everybody, we all dream about living the Nissan V6 dream, right up until we check the classifieds and see that yes, GTR R35s are still £40,000 for the bottom of the market. Then maybe you check the price of 370Zs, but then remember that of course you're now at a stage in life like me where you need rear seats. Oh. This happens a lot on roundabouts. People pull out in front of me when I'm driving this. But don't you dare comment below, what about a Nismo Jump? A Nismo Jump? Oh, no, we say no to crossovers on this channel. It's at this point then that everybody forgets about buying a used Nissan performance car for a daily and instead goes and has a look at one of the many Lexuses as is. But hold your horses, y'all must have forgot about the Infiniti G37. These are cars that can be bought used today for less than 10% of their original price. Is there a reason for that? Well, there's only one way to find out. Come on, let's get into it. My name's Ben, and welcome to Dad Cars. Welcome back to the channel. If you are an Infiniti fan, can you do me a favor? If you enjoy this video, please share it with somebody. Put it on an Infiniti owners group somewhere, because if you haven't already guessed, this is a UK-based channel, and I don't think there's a big audience here in the UK for Infiniti content. My first video, when I accidentally bought this car, was watched by a load of my subscribers and then basically died a death. But anyway, what is it exactly that we are driving? This is my 2011 Infiniti G37X. Under the bonnet, this car's party piece and biggest appeal is that it's got the naturally aspirated 3.7 litre petrol V6, the same one you'll find in the 370Z, although admittedly slightly down-tuned here in the Infiniti, but it still produces 316 horsepower, 265 pound-feet of torque. And when I bought this car, I was told by its previous owner that it also had rear wheel assisted steering, but I don't think it does. And we're going to find out 100% today, because I've put a camera on the side of the car so we can see as I go round the corner with a bit of pace whether the rear wheels move or not. You could get the G37s as a hardtop convertible or as a two-door coupe, but this is the four-door saloon variant. And I must admit, when you do occasionally see a few of these up for sale in the UK, which you don't see them very often because they didn't sell many over here, in my experience, they tend to be either a convertible or a coupe. The lone transmission option with these cars is a 7-speed automatic. We do get these rather lovely titanium paddles, which we'll have a play with a little bit later on. Ah, sweetie, this is the downside, right? When we started this channel, you weren't in school yet, were you? So we used to go off for the day, didn't we? And go and drive incredible cars, Ferraris, Porsches and things like that. But now you're in school, I can only film reviews with you in the evenings or weekends. So right now, we're stuck in a bit of congestion, aren't we? Right, while we're stuck here, we're going to do things a little bit out of order. Let's talk about the looks. What do you think of how this car looks outside, sweetie?
I like the colour of the car.
You like the colour? Do you think it looks cool? Or,
cool.
Yeah, you think it looks quite cool? Yeah, I have to agree.
But
yeah,
the front is broken.
The front is broken on this particular car, isn't it? A previous owner hit a deer in this car.
A deer?
Yeah, and it basically damaged the grille, the bumper a little bit, and it misaligned the bonnet.
How did they bump into a deer?
At time of recording, I've owned this car for a couple of weeks now, and I keep going back and forth each day when I see it on the driveway and I see it from different angles. I think certainly from the front and the side profile, it's really nice. I think from like the rear and just like the lights, I think that's probably aesthetically its weakest point.
So do you like how it drives?
Do I like how it drives? We'll come on to that when I'm actually on a road where I could do some driving, eh? Yeah, you're good at
Big
asking.
puddle! Big puddle!
Big puddle.
Oh, that Minnie just went through it. Oh.
Right, how does it drive as we come to 50-mile section?
And now this is what I want the answer for.
So it's pretty quick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now this car is actually the first time I've ever driven a car with this engine. And I know naturally aspirated Japanese cars normally got to rev them quite high, work them quite hard in order to get the performance out of them. But I was really pleasantly surprised with this G37X. Don't know if it's because it's the all-wheel drive version as well, but off the line, this thing feels rapid. Even when it's not in sport, it is so keen off the line. I'd go as far as to say that I wouldn't be surprised if this car actually had some form of like drive-by-wire throttle mod fitted to it. Like, that's how sort of keen it feels. But it then sort of calms down as the revs are climbing, but there is a reward for really revving this thing out. But the engine is an absolute screamer. I mean, it sounds amazing, but I don't know, it almost screams too much. You know, the nature of this car being a four-door luxury saloon, I don't know, like, yeah, that screaming engine as you are just driving around, I don't know if it actually really suits the nature of it. Look, I'll show you what I mean. National speed limit, sweetie, you ready? Let's put it into sport. Yeah, see there, from like 3,500 to 6,000, like, that didn't feel particularly fast then, did it? And that was even in sport as well. Let's have a go with the pedals. Right,
Okie dokie.
let's take it down to... So you hear the engine, it's really screaming, isn't it? But that's what you kind of need to do to get the best out of it. Second gear, 5,000 RPM. See, it's got the power there, hasn't it? It's got the punch. This thing encourages you to really sort of put your foot down, throw it around. When I first got in, I threw it around some corners. I thought, oh yeah, blimey, this corner's really well. You can feel that four-wheel steering assist. But the more I drove it on my own, obviously, without a pickle in the back, I was like, hang on, I don't think this has got rear wheel steer assist as well. The steering is really interesting as well. So it's quite heavily power assisted. So it feels quite light, you know, particularly at low speeds, very, very light and loose. But it's got a very enjoyable analog mechanical feel about it as well. Like I do feel like it is connected to those front wheels, and you get a nice level of texture from the road through the steering wheel as well. The ride overall is really nice. It's just a bit stiffer, a bit bumpier than what I would expect, again, for a luxury four-door saloon to be. But the weak point, I would say, is this 7-speed automatic transmission. This car wants you to drive it in automatic. You know, you've got the sport mode there where it will hold it in a lower gear, let you rev it out. But I don't know, it always feels to me like, you know, the gear changes are a bit sort of sloppy, a bit slow, and not when you want them. Look, don't get me wrong, it's not a deal breaker, but I'd say that this automatic transmission is, yeah, the thing I like the least about the driving of this car. See, even when I'm in sport and in manual mode, using the paddles high in the rev range, is notably slower than, say, a 6-speed ZF torque converter. But going back to the positives, Pickle, what do you think of the interior of this car?
I like the feel of it.
It's nice, isn't it? You've got this wonderful light cream colour leather. Does actually feel like nice quality leather as well, doesn't it? Nice hard wearing. Stitching's lovely as well. Have you got more space in the back than in Daddy's Maserati?
What do you think?
For me, as the driver, I'm staring down at a pair of attractive analog dials, sandwiching what looks like a Nokia 33 something or other phone screen in the middle. The dash is a nice squishy plastic material, and I mean, overall in pictures when you look at these, they look very dated today. I mean, this is a 15-year-old car, can you believe? 2011 was 15 years ago now. I love cars like this where, like, on the passenger side there, you can see how the dash goes inwards to give even more space and leg room for your front passenger, which is brilliant if you've got rear-facing child seats behind your passenger, because you'll be able to have so much space there without your front passenger feeling too cramped. This infotainment screen, although looks dated, is quite nicely integrated into the dash there. I'll take that over a whopping great big laptop screen sort of stuck right in my face, obscuring my view. All of its physical buttons are up here right in front of it, so you know, you've got to put your hand right up next to the screen, which is odd because, you know, everyone else had them down here, but the screen in the Infiniti is also a touchscreen. So it's bizarre. Why didn't they put it down here like everybody else? So then you've got the option of either just keeping your hand down here to operate it, or, you know, using the touchscreen on it. The steering wheel, these are the types of steering wheels I like, you know, nice and small in the hands there. The airbag section's not too big. Very nice indeed, and you've got some additional buttons on there as well. All in all, sat in here as the driver is a wonderful, luxurious place to be. Everything that I am touching right now, both elbows, my bum and my back, all sat on leather. It does give you that Jaguar Lexus-esque feeling. However, the problem is when you stare at the steering wheel, you've got the strange Infiniti badge staring at you. And if, look, anyone watching across the pond over in the States, that might be a strange comment, because I think Infiniti's far more popular over there. But here in the UK, you just never see them. So when I look at that badge, which to me looks more like a car badge from Grand Theft Auto than a luxury car badge in the real world, it doesn't give me the same sense that I would if I had a Jaguar's face staring at me. Mummy has been driving this around quite a bit for the last couple of weeks because her Range Rover is yet again broken, isn't it, Pickle? And Mummy's been enjoying it, hasn't she?
I don't think she wants to sell it.
There's a couple of reasons why my wife has been reaching for the Infiniti key rather than the F31 320D keys. Oh, sweetie, look, national speed limit. You ready? 3, 2, 1. And that's all engine noise as well, because these have obviously got really understated exhaust. And I know for a fact, particularly over in America, people put some crazy exhaust systems on these and they can sound epic. Way too loud for what, you know, I would really want for a daily. The Gran Turismo, because the exhaust flap's stuck open on the Gran Turismo and it's too loud now, isn't it, the Maserati? Daddy needs to fix that, doesn't he?
It hurts my ears.
So there's two main reasons why my wife has been reaching for the Infiniti keys over the 320D keys. Reason number one is that our 320D is manual and this is automatic. So yeah, as much as she doesn't mind driving a manual, you know, she's got the option of an auto, she's been going for that. But also, more crucially, it's the performance that you get from this car. Because the 320D is a bit sluggish, isn't it? The BMW is not fast, is it, Pickle?
No.
No, it's not. This is much faster, isn't it?
Why is it just so unguilty?
Oh, that was awkward. So it's a national speed limit B road. Yeah, it's an interesting place to go and do your midweek run, I think.
That was a puddle.
Yeah, did you feel the puddle? Oh yeah, and if you're watching this and you don't currently have dash cams in all of your cars, particularly the cars you use with your family, use this as your opportunity to just get one. Scan this QR code here, use promo code DADCARS15 and you'll save 15% off the entire next base range. And you can use that 15% in conjunction with any other package deals they're doing on their website. Because at the moment, they've got some cool deals which come with memory cards and other accessories. You can then use the code DADCARS15 to save 15% off that discounted rate as well. And speaking of safety, the Infiniti G was never NCAP crash tested here in Europe, but the following model, the Q, was, and it achieved an incredible 5-star NCAP safety rating, and it actually won NCAP's prize for safest in class. Now, values for these G37s is quite a tricky one because there's so little of them here in the UK. Whenever I see them available up for sale, you know, I see them around like £8,000 to £10,000 a lot of the time. This car I'm driving today will be going up for sale very, very soon. Because of the front end cosmetic issues, I'm probably going to list this for £3,500 just to hopefully get a relatively quick sale. But if anyone's watching, any of my subscribers are interested in this car, I'll sell it to you for even cheaper. But let's call it, for argument's sake, you know, one of these which doesn't have cosmetic issues. Say you get one for £5,000. Why aren't more people rushing out and buying one of these? It's a wicked, awesome, really fun car to drive around. All the practicality, blah, 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 all the rest of it. You get one for £5,000. Why isn't everybody going and buying one? Well, it's because of running costs. This mighty V6 is known for a lot of things, but fuel economy is not one of them. And in this car, which obviously weighs quite a lot because it's a 4-door luxury saloon, I think it weighs about 1,750 kilograms. Miles per gallon that I've been seeing in this car is basically the same as my Maserati Gran Turismo with the 4.7 litre V8 under the bonnet. And it's not like those cars are light either. So I think you'll be seeing like normal city driving in the teens miles per gallon, but with the way that I've been driving this around, I think I've been getting like about 15 miles per gallon out of it. Servicing and maintenance costs isn't that high.
My friend Ant from the YouTube channel Sports and Touring and JM and Friends highly recommends Abbey Motorsport because he takes his 370Z Nismo here. At time of recording, a minor service would cost around £200 and a major £330.
The problem here in the UK though is because they're so rare, you might struggle to get hold of some parts. You'll probably be buying the parts, a lot of them from America. So if you're watching from America, I don't think this will be a particularly expensive car to maintain, compared to the other cars that I feature on this channel. But the huge nail in the coffin here in the UK for this car and other cars similar to it, cars that have got interesting engines but aren't worth that much, is tax. Because I'm currently paying £65 a month road tax for this car. I'm doing it monthly because I'm not going to keep it for very long, but £65 a month, that's nearly double what I pay for our F31 320d for the entire year. Yeah, the BMW is £35 a year. And like so many amazing, affordable, exciting dad cars, with good engines under the bonnet, it's the tax which, for normal people, like that's a big expense. £65 a month. That's a lot, isn't it? And I think that probably brings us on perfectly to my verdict of the Infiniti G37X. Wonderful car. Incredibly fun to drive, even though me and my wife really enjoying having this car, and I don't even stand to get that much money when I sell it. We just can't justify having another car which is so poor on fuel and costs so much in tax every month. However, if you are somebody who loves Nissans, loves a GTR, loves a Skyline, loves a 370Z, you're really passionate about those cars, but you find yourself now on a chapter of life where you need rear seats, you need practicality, you haven't got loads and loads and loads of money to go out and buy a R35. For that type of person watching right now, I highly recommend you go and test drive an Infiniti G37. I think you will love it. And if you can grab one for a bargain price, hopefully that will kind of offset the running costs a bit for you. But for me, as I said earlier on, when I look down and I see, well, that badge means nothing to me, but the enjoyment of this car has cemented in my mind 100% that this year I need to buy myself a luxury saloon, a big engined luxury barge that's got loads of space in the back for you girls, because I think it'll be the perfect thing to go and take on some road trips this year. I've already got the Gran Turismo, which does the practical but also a bit sporty driving thing like this, and the Gran Turismo is not going anywhere. So a proper full fat massive luxury barge with a huge engine is definitely on the menu for me this year. If you've got this far, please double check that you've clicked that subscribe button. It makes no difference to you whatsoever, the way that YouTube works now, but it means a lot to me and my family. If you're an Infiniti fan and you enjoyed this video, please share it, because I don't think many people are going to see it, because most of my videos are seen by people here in the UK. And finally, why not check out this Lexus alternative review here, or watch this video here when I accidentally bought this car. And I'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
What car do you think Daddy should buy?
Not a Maserati, but not squishy.
Well, like a Quattroporte.
Any Maserati, but no squishy.